Welcome to the Six Box. I am Simone Deloach.
And I am Dennis Tardan.
Mhm.
We're so glad to have you here today because this is such an important thing on our pilot episode because I check three of the cultural boxes we have in this world right now. I'm an old white man.
Mhm. Yes, and I am on the other side of that spectrum, young female who is Black, African American. So,
Yes. And so
here we are.
within this context, we want to have some discussions because it appears to me that race and age and gender are such important topics, things that we're having a hard time and struggles having conversations about. Are you finding that?
Yes, um, challenged in many aspects in our lives. I'm seeing that daily and also in the workspace and just in our friendship
Yeah.
groups. So, mhm.
How, all right, let me ask you something. As a white man, and it's an old white
Mhm.
man, we, when I grew up in South Texas, I grew up in the Jim Crow era where it was separate but equal.
Mhm.
Whereas at that time, we referred to African Americans as colored. That was the
Mhm.
preferred term. And as we evolved over it and we got into Black Power and there was Black and then we went into African American, and how have you
Mhm.
landed on how you feel comfortable? And how do I ask you how to feel
Mhm.
comfortable in identifying yourself and your race so that
Mhm.
I can get there because it's a puzzle to me and
Yeah.
it's something that I want to be able to get to and to get more comfortable about.
Right. And I'll start by saying this. I think when by you asking me, I think it also you're asking for like how you present and our engagement with other African American, other people of color, right?
Yes.
Not just with me, but with others as well.
Right, but I
So,
have to do but
mhm,
isn't it an individual? I mean, I don't think there's a one size fits all in this, is it? I mean, I
mhm,
have to be able to I want to be able to have this conversation, of course, broadly. You're not representing everyone, but you
right.
are representing Simone Deloach.
Right. Yes. I will start by suggesting listening, like being aware of how they talk about themselves.
Yes.
And even if they are using, yeah, I'm Black in America, I have my Black friends, even if you have posing questions, ask them and be like, hey, so I've heard you say the word, refer to yourself as Black. Is that okay that I refer you as that as well? And that's as good as we're going to get, I think, in this world is
Oh,
listening and then asking for clarification. Myself, I refer to myself as an African American woman. I know when I have to fill out a box and put a label on it, it usually says Black, non-Hispanic.
hmm.
Um, Sometimes it'll get a little fancy and say African American. So when it comes to checking off boxes, I will identify myself as being a Black woman. But I try to um, give myself the full diaspora of it. I'm an African American woman.
Yeah.
Um, so that's important to me because I think, for me, it's my skin color has always been a topic of conversation, even as a young girl,
Hmm.
whether it was direct or indirect. And so for me, taking ownership of that is like me being like, okay, well, I am comfortable with this, and this is what you'll call me because this is what I call myself. So yes, a great question, African American. Same
Yeah.
question for you, right? What does it mean for you to be considered a white American, and how do you label yourself? Because there's spectrum from that as well.
Exactly. I mean, the
Hmm.
weird part about my history is
Hmm.
that I was born in Mexico. So when I came here, I'm a Mexican American, but people say,
Yeah.
"Well, yes, but you don't look Mexican." And I
Mm.
go, "Mexican is not a
A
race.
color. Hmm. Wow.
Mexican is a nationality."
Hmm.
And we get
Hmm.
that all, and that's part of this whole race conversation. And it
Yeah.
strikes me as so weird when I have people that say, or I hear people that say, "Oh, I don't see race." And I go, how can you not? Especially when it's something
Mm-hmm.
that's so determinative of
Mm-hmm.
how we come into and how we succeed, because it's part of the process. I mean, people,
Yeah.
I sit here and people will say, well, there's, it all, everything's done. There is, we're in a post-racial society, and this is the way it is. And I go,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, if that's true,
Mm-hmm.
how come a white family income, the medium income, the
Mm-hmm.
wealth is $220,000. The medium income of a black family is $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
If racism is over, why is that such a disparity?
Mm-hmm.
If there is no disparity, then why are our prisons
Mm-hmm.
overrepresented with black and brown people if there is no disparity? So
Right.
there appears to be some kind of a disconnect there, and that's part of what I wanted to, one of the things, and I want to talk about the police on this thing, because
Yeah.
recently, because since this is February the 9th, and recently in Memphis we had the killing of Tyree Nichols, and I wanted to know what was your reaction when you learned that
Mm-hmm.
the police that had beaten him to death were
Mm-hmm.
5 black officers? What went through your mind? What was your
Yeah.
experience with that?
That actively doing it some deep breathing really was my first response. I think regardless of, again, the race of the men in blue, another um, from what we understand, right, unarmed person who happened to be African American was killed
Yes.
by the hands of police officers. Um, I think, after George Floyd's murder, um, there was a lot of conversation around, well, the white American cop was on him, but there were 4 other cops around that were also white, but also people of color. I think racism isn't just a white and black thing. Unfortunately, killing other people is something that's hate within the heart. It doesn't matter where you come from, or where you were raised, or how much up the ladder you are from the next person. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to see anyone be murdered, but then to be murdered by individuals who are supposed to protect us.
Yes.
I'm not ignoring the fact that they were Black men. I think that's significant as well. The cops who had killed this young man. But I think if we focus on the racial aspects of that, we lose sight of how far we are as Americans, in in police management and
Yes.
policing police. Right. This has been a part of a cultural thing that has happened, that we've seen.
Yeah. And how
And
we do that, the
mhm.
militarization, and really
Militarization.
trying to find out what we're doing. Oh, good, because I mean that's
Mhm.
what I feel like. And did you have conversations with
Mhm.
friends and families about Tyree Nichols and this? What were those conversations? You don't have to break any
Mhm.
anonymity.
Mhm.
You can just
Mhm.
say in general, what were those along the lines of what you're feeling, or
Mhm.
what was the sense that you were getting?
Yeah. And again, just strictly from my own experience, Dennis, it's like we are with the individuals I do speak to who do want to talk about it, right? Because there is people who are just like, I don't even. Those who do want to talk about it realize, like, it's an exhausting conversation. What more can we say? What more can we teach? We're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Hmm.
Um,
You're
we
weary.
we can do more in honoring his life, and respecting the family and giving them privacy. And also, what we can do is really put to justice, when you kill someone, when you murder someone, these are the consequences.
Exactly.
And if we need to rewrite the rule book, then we can do that. I think we are. in my conversations with family and friends, we're just ready to see the justice come forth that
Hmm.
is applied everywhere else. We just wanted to see it with the officers who behave in this way. For yourself, for you and your family and friends, how did you guys have this conversation? What does that look like for you?
I have some embarrassment with this,
Mm,
in the sense that I felt when I saw this, I felt that um, I was glad that the officers weren't all white, because I
mm,
felt like that what it did for me when it happened, because what had happened, I'm not happy that at all that it happened, or what, I mean,
sure.
what a horrible thing even to consider.
Hmm.
But when it was there, I felt, because I felt like it focused the issue of over policing, the militarization. It got us back to the issue that we could then perhaps have a
Sure.
conversation that wasn't
Mm,
solely on race. It
hmm.
was solely on that we could broaden the conversation, and I felt like that was going to be the gift that would have come out of the horrible situation that had
Right.
happened.
Right.
I,
Yeah.
another thing, since it is happens to be February, and we have the other 11 months are White History months, and this is Black History. Not bad. You
Hmm.
get 1 out of 12. But
Mm,
what does Black History Month
yeah.
mean to you? What do you think? Do you
Wow.
think do you absorb differently? Does this
Mm,
get what does that mean? And also, as
hmm.
you're talking among your family and friends, how does that land? What's that?
What's that like? Yes. I would also attest that June is also Black History Month. June for Texas, for
Exactly.
Texans, is when slavery was abolished here in Texas. Something that I've actually invited my family to do. Let's go to Corpus Christi. Let's see it. Let's go to the coast. Let's be on the grounds. Let's celebrate. With those who live there and are
Yeah.
actively, participating in that. And so growing up, February is a big month for my family because not only is it Black History Month, but there's tons of birthdays. My birthday's in February. It's Valentine's Day. There's a lot of activity socially as well. So I think growing up in school, I felt very comfortable in my skin in this particular month. I've always owned February
Yeah.
for those factors, and so it it's it's interesting to me because uh, whose holiday is it? Kind of like MLK Day, right?
Yeah.
Whose holiday is it really? Because yes, he lived a life and sacrificed a lot and has taught us a lot as Americans of how to treat people and just be kind to one another. We have the day off, but are are those who are not African Americans in America taking advantage of that day to learn more about him, to learn more about the civil rights movement, to learn more about anything that has happened, in
Right.
his era. Same with February, right? Is Black History Month really for us, or is it for others to learn our history? Just like Hispanic, History Month. I
Exactly.
choose to engage and to learn. I have a few friends that I enjoy talking with and
Hmm.
getting to know their traditions and what they eat and what they do and integrate myself into their world and become curious, right? So I guess it's just another month, but then whose month is it really for?
That's beautiful.
You
Well,
know?
I want to turn, so because I want to make sure we're checking these boxes. I want to know
Mm,
something about you. You're of childbearing and reproductive age. You live in Texas like
thank you.
I live in Texas.
Yes.
And men of my age and my
Hmm.
skin tone
Hmm.
are in the legislature right now saying we need to control your bodies, because
Hmm.
should you have an unintended pregnancy,
Hmm.
irrespective of whether you would do something or not, you're in a much different situation than I mean, this is something that you really have to consider. What's your
Mhm.
impression of what's going on with reproductive rights in Texas and in both
Mhm.
in women that you know of, because
Mhm. Mhm.
you have friends who are in this who
Yeah.
could possibly be in this situation too. So what's going on?
Mm. I guess, I don't know if we're going to segue into this as well with critical race theory.
Exactly.
What comes to mind is like, what's the threat? Why do you need to have that sense of control? Why do you need to know? Why do you need to change things in terms of like how I would ask
Hmm.
those in power, those in those seats, the white men in those seats. What benefit does it give you to have any kind of direction into what I do with my body and my
Yeah.
autonomy? How does it affect you? Do you get to sleep at night knowing that you have control, right? Like it just kind of begs the question to me of why.
Yeah.
Um, I um, I'm not sure how I particularly feel about legislation having a say. I think there are things that legally should be regulated, right? But I also think when it comes to all things, I think there should be some give and take. There has to be
Yeah.
some give and take.
But there
Yeah,
isn't
have.
in Texas right now. Right now there isn't. It's just
Hmm.
it's what we
Hmm.
have, irrespective of however we feel about it. But just I
Hmm.
mean, because it is a life changing.
Yeah.
You look at some of your friends, some of the people that you play
Hmm.
basketball with or whatever, and
Hmm.
you get pregnant, your life has changed.
Forever.
Yeah. So no matter what the blessing could come from that
Hmm.
situation or
Hmm.
however it would work, it is a it is a it is a completely changing situation that we as men
Mm.
do not have to go through or have that kind of change for us.
Yeah. If I can take a mental health perspective on this,
Please.
I would like becoming a mother, becoming parents, a mother and a father, or becoming parents, is a task that not everybody is ready for, is trained for. Right, there is no special classes you could go. There's plenty of books, but
Sure.
the child will teach you how they want to be parented, and you can
Yep.
either lean into that or you cannot. If we were to take away a woman's rights, if we are to actively continue to take away a woman's rights to make that choice for herself, I would like to advocate for the other end of that. Well, then let's emotionally take care of her. Let's financially take care of her. Let's have a community that'll back her, because
Life does
the
not end at birth.
that's right. It's a lifelong journey. And so you had mentioned my age. Yes, I'm all of 31 as of yesterday. And
Happy birthday.
I have been blessed. Thank you. I have been blessed to have a career, my career path to be as I have been blessed to have external family members who are nearby and close by. I have been blessed to have, in a way, I've been privileged to have this life that I have, to where now if I was to get pregnant tomorrow, I feel I would be ready, because I've done the things that I have designed to do since I have desired to do since about 19, 20, 21
Mhm.
years of age. And not that a child would have blocked me from that. If anything, a child would probably have pushed me more forward into that. But
As
the
you see
fact that
how
I got,
many athletes, right, have children
mm-hmm,
and then continue
and are
on
able
in
to,
their.
right? Um, but yeah, but I think about my mental health and being 30 and being able to be like, I am more confident in myself today than I was at 20 or 21.
Exactly.
So my children, any children that I choose to have, will have a better version of me simply because I have chosen to take care of myself. And I think any parent should have that luxury. Any child should have that blessing to have the best version of their parents that they can possibly have. And so we have to remember that yes, conception is creating cells within the womb, but until the child is born, um, you know, why is that anybody else's business? And
Yeah.
even after the child is born, let's make that more of our business, to take care and support children,
Yes.
and to have healthy parents. So yeah, yeah.
It's a difficult. It's a
Mm-hmm.
it's a difficult situation, but I just wanted to know because how the kind of control that there is when other people are
Mm-hmm.
telling you what what to do with your body, especially when it's something as intimate and important as that, and especially when there were many other issues that are going
That we
on
could be
with
focused
maternal,
on.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
mortality and all. All right, well, good. Well, your turn. What do you want to talk about in these last few
What do,
minutes?
what do I want to talk about? I as we segued into um, one of the questions that has come up for me and thinking about, and the Memphis thing happened just days
Yep.
after MLK, MLK Day, speaking of. Um, for you, Dennis, as an ally of many, how do you how do you take care of yourself in this time so that you can take care of those around you, your friends or family members who are POCs, who are,
Hmm.
those who are possibly discriminated against. You've spoken to me as recognizing your privilege, and I
Yes.
appreciate you for doing that. And a part of me asking you, how are you taking care of yourself, is because I'm it's not something I've lived experience that I've ever had. But then also, if you're not taking care of yourself, I'm wondering if that's how we get to the places we are, where we're picketing outside of, courthouses, saying that critical race theory is, you know, a sin.
Right.
It's no good. It's poison. Children shouldn't be learning their history. Um, and I'm wondering if we took better care of ourselves, would we
Yeah.
be able to have healthier conversations about it? So all that to say, how are you taking care of yourself with the racial tensions that have happened recently?
By I'm so thank you for putting that into the perspective, because yes, I find that when I find that when one of the things that puzzles me about the people who are vehemently against the concept of critical race theory, which I
Right.
see it much more as a boogeyman than an actuality, because it's very few colleges and university levels are the only places that critical race theory is, but then they
Exists.
take it
Mm-hmm.
and use it to think that it's being taught in kindergarten or middle school, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not. That's not what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the key things that I keep coming back to is they say is the opponents, the people who are talking about this, are saying that they do not want their children to feel ashamed.
Mm.
That's the big
Wow.
thing, that you
Mm-hmm.
cannot, we white people should not feel ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
And this of ourselves, ashamed of
Mm.
being white, so that I have to
Mm-hmm.
just stand there and go, oh, I have to be ashamed of something that my ancestor did, and I have to be ashamed. And I think that's a red herring, because I don't think being ashamed,
Mm-hmm.
it is taking account for it and being able to say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can study, if I can go back and I can study, if I can hold two thoughts at one time, so I can say that the United States of America is the greatest idea that has ever, for a country that has ever happened, the
Mm-hmm.
idea, the principles that it was founded on. And at the same time, during the course, so I can hold that thought, and at the
Mm-hmm.
same time I can hold the same thought that while we were trying to get toward a more perfect union, horrible things happened. What the genocide that happened to the first peoples during the time, what we did in the enslavement of African Americans while we were here during this time, what we did in discrimination of Jews and many other factors as we were going on, what we did to women and not keeping them vote. If we can hold those two at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that while we are progressing,
Right.
that we can accept that this happened and say, what can we learn from it? But I don't
Right.
think the word shame or having to be ashamed or teaching my child that they need to be ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
We can reckon, we can look at something.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the ways that I participate in my health
Mm-hmm.
is that I have deep and meaningful dialogues with you. I have
Mm-hmm.
deep meaningful dialogues with my friends, with
Yeah.
Melissa. I do this because in having those deep and meaningful dialogues, really being able to talk about uh, my fears,
Yeah.
my discomforts,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I'm hoping that we're going to be able to do over the course of our the six box conversations, because I know, I mean, and that's what I want. I'm that if
Mm-hmm.
I can learn from you and learn with you,
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
that's a better way for, I would like to phrase it. I want to learn with you. I want to
Yeah.
be your ally in the sense that I'm standing beside you, both of us being 6'3", and I'm standing beside you, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing that we have much to share,
Mm-hmm.
and we have
Absolutely.
much to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And how can we do that? And how can we grow? And we will know this because we cannot know what's going to be happening in a week, when on the 16th we have our second, on the February the 16th. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll get an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity then to know what happened in this week, what happened in your life,
Yeah. Yeah.
what happened in my life, and what happened in the lives of the world during
Of the
that time, to
world.
see what we can bring, because I want to dig deep.
Yes. Yes. Can I leave us off with a quote?
Would you please?
Yes, this is by Professor Crenshaw. She says, the world around us is not just the way things are, it is the way things have been made to be. And yes, we can do something about it.
Thank you, Simone. Thank you so
Yes,
much for today.
yes. Thank you, Dennis.
And thank you, everybody, for watching the Six Box with
Simone Deloach.
and Dennis Tardan. And we will see everybody next time.
That's right.